The wagon wheels clicked in the dust, slow, hollow pulses meant for the audio bed, each one echoing across the empty road. Mae Carter halted her team because a man stepped from the sagebrush, clothes torn, eyes sharp, voice steady. He begged for a ride. But then, he whispered her father's name, a name he shouldn't know. And that impossible truth froze her breath. "I'm Samuel Pike," he murmured, "president of the Western Rail Lot. Do me a favor and tip your hat to this video by clicking that like button. Click subscribe to join our growing family." The wagon wheels clicked in that slow, hollow way Mae Carter had grown used to, a lonely rhythm, a tired rhythm. It followed her everywhere, across empty miles, across wider silences. She guided the team down the narrow ridge road, the reins light in her hands. No destination, just movement. The air carried nothing but dust and the soft ticking of those wheels, marking time like a tired clock that refused to stop. It was the only sound she trusted anymore. Mae's world had shrunk since her father passed, shrunk to chores, shrunk to miles, shrunk to quiet days that ended exactly as they began. She preferred it that way, less hurt in smaller worlds. But halfway down the ridge, the clicking changed, shifted, echoed off something that hadn't been there before. Mae slowed the horses, listened. The wheels clicked again, this time bouncing off a shape standing in the road. A man, hurt, threadbare. He didn't move when her wagon stopped, didn't raise his hands, just stood there with eyes too sharp for a man that broken. Mae kept one hand close to the rifle under the seat. "You lost?" The man swallowed hard. "Just need a ride." His voice was worn down to rope fibers, but steady. Mae hesitated. Strangers on open roads were trouble more often than not. The wheels clicked lightly as the horses shifted, waiting on her choice. That steady sound filled the space between them like a question. The man took a breath, then spoke a name. Her father's name. Mae froze. Cold swept her spine in a slow, sharp wave. "Where'd you hear that?" He didn't answer right away. He looked at the wagon, then at her. "My name is Samuel Pike," he said. "Your father helped me once. I'm returning the favor." Mae felt the ground tilt. Her father had been dead 2 years. No one spoke his name anymore. She studied Samuel one last time. Worn boots, dust-caked coat, eyes that saw too much. And against all reason, she nodded. "Get on." The wheels clicked again as he climbed aboard. A new rhythm, a heavier one. By nightfall, Mae opened her cabin door, and the stranger stepped inside her quiet world. The storm rolled in slow that evening, brushing the cabin walls with a restless hush. Mae lit a lamp, a small flame in a wide dark. Samuel eased himself into the chair by the hearth, careful, as if afraid to take up space. The wagon wheel rhythm still echoed in Mae's mind, softer now, like the storm had swallowed the sharp edges. She handed him a tin cup of hot water. No questions. Not yet. He wrapped his hands around it, sought the warmth like a man who hadn't felt any in too long. Outside, the wind prowled. Inside, the silence settled too neatly between them. Mae stirred the stew pot, watched the broth swirl, watched Samuel watch the flames. "You traveled far?" she asked. He nodded once. "Farther than I meant to." His voice carried a weight she didn't understand, a story he wasn't ready to give. The stew bubbled. The wind rattled the eave, a soft reminder that the world beyond her door was never done stirring trouble. Mae set 2 bowls on the table. "Eat." Samuel hesitated, then obeyed quietly. They ate in near silence, save for the clink of spoon against tin. Small sounds, domestic sounds. Sounds Mae hadn't heard since her father's last winter. When the meal was done, Samuel lifted his head. "You keep his tools," he said, nodding toward the workbench. Mae stiffened. She hadn't told him that, hadn't told anyone much of anything these past 2 years. "How do you know?" Samuel's gaze held hers. Not sharp now, just tired. "Man talks about the people he trusts," he said, "even when he's dying." Mae's breath snagged. A cold thread pulled tight inside her chest. The storm cracked overhead. A warning, a promise, a reminder that nothing was safe for long. Samuel looked toward the door as if expecting someone unwelcome, someone near. Mae felt the old dread return, slow, sure, settling in her bones. "Who's following you?" she whispered. Samuel didn't answer, but his jaw tightened, and the silence around them grew heavier than the storm. The morning came pale and brittle, the kind of cold that clung to the lungs. Mae stepped onto the porch, listening. The world held its breath. No birds, no wind, just that thin, uneasy stillness that warned of company. Samuel stood inside the doorway, coat already on, eyes scanning the tree line. He hadn't slept much, neither had she. Mae lifted the water bucket, a simple chore, a normal chore. But halfway to the well, she saw them, tracks, fresh, too many to belong to wanderers. The threat slid into her chest like ice. She returned to the cabin with measured steps. Samuel met her halfway. He didn't ask. He saw the truth on her face. How close? Close enough. He exhaled slowly, steadying himself. The warmth of the cabin behind them felt smaller suddenly, thinner, barely enough to hold back the cold world pressing in. Inside, Samuel gathered a small pouch and a folded map. Mae watched him work with the quiet speed of a man running out of time. "You planning to leave?" "I was hoping they'd lose my trail," he said. "They didn't." The words dropped like stones, heavy, certain. Mae moved to the window. The frost on the glass blurred the pines, turning them into shadowed shapes that looked like riders waiting still, waiting patient. She felt the old ache of loss stir, the ache she buried beneath chores and silence. "You brought this trouble to my door." Samuel didn't look away. I tried not to. Another silence grew between them, sharper than before, more dangerous. A branch snapped outside, close, too close. Mae reached for her rifle, not out of trust, out of instinct. Samuel stepped beside her, a quiet alliance, not spoken, not agreed to, simply formed by necessity. "They'll talk first," he murmured. "That's the problem." Mae nodded once. Her heartbeat matched the slow, familiar rhythm of wagon wheels in her memory. Only now, the sound carried warning, a steady countdown. The riders were coming, and they were almost here. The riders appeared at the tree line just after noon, their silhouettes trembling in the cold glare. Mae felt the air thicken, the way it does before lightning. Samuel stood beside her, shoulders set, breath slow. They didn't knock, didn't call out, just waited. Mae stepped onto the porch, rifle steady. The leader nudged his horse forward, a smile carved thin as wire. "Samuel Pike," he called. "You're coming with us." Samuel didn't move, didn't blink, only said, "Not today." The man's smile faltered, replaced by something sharper. Last chance. Mae could feel the warmth of the cabin at her back, a small, stubborn comfort against the cold thread gathering before her. She shifted her stance. "You're not taking him." The leader lifted a hand, a lazy gesture. The riders raised their guns. For a moment, everything held. Silence stretched, the world narrowed to breath and heartbeat. Then the first shot split the air. Mae fired back, the recoil jarring through her bones. Samuel moved with sudden precision, taking cover near the porch beam. Gunfire cracked like dry branches snapping underfoot. The cold bit at Mae's fingers as she reloaded. Smoke drifted. Horses screamed. One rider fell. Another reeled back. The leader's voice cut through the chaos. "Pike, you think she can save you?" Samuel braced himself. "She's not the one who needs saving." They pushed forward, desperate now. More shots. More shouts. The ground churned beneath hooves. Mae stepped into the open, firing again. Her fear burned away, replaced by something steadier, something fierce. The leader charged. Samuel met him halfway, knocking him from the saddle with a force born of exhaustion and resolve. The two hit the ground hard, a struggle, a grunt, a knife flashing. Samuel wrenched it free and pinned the man with a final, decisive blow. Silence followed, heavy, cold. Mae approached slowly. Samuel wiped the blood from his hands, breath ragged. "It started with your father," he said. "He uncovered the theft, the bribery, the men who bought their way into the board." Mae felt the warmth of the cabin at her back again, but now it felt like a promise. Samuel's voice softened. "He made me swear, if anything happened, I'd find you, protect you." Mae looked at the fallen riders, then at the man who had brought danger to her door, and stood with her against it. The storm inside her eased, just a little. The cold world felt farther away now. The week after the riders fell, the cabin settled into a new kind of quiet. Not the hollow quiet Mae once carried around like a burden. A gentler one. A lived-in one. Samuel repaired the porch rail where a bullet had splintered the wood. Each tap of the hammer echoed steady and sure, like a heartbeat learning its rhythm again. Mae listened from the doorway, arms folded, letting the warmth from the stove drift out toward him. The snowline crept closer each morning, winter pressing in, cold reminding them it hadn't gone anywhere. But inside, firelight held the walls in a soft glow, a small reminder of safety, a small reminder of choice. Mae brewed coffee, the rich scent drifting through the room, filling spaces she once kept empty. She set 2 cups on the table, one for her, one for the man who stayed. Samuel joined her, rubbing warmth back into his hands. "You think they'll send more?" Mae asked. "Not now," he said. "They were the last loyal to the corrupt board. Once word spreads, the truth will carry its own weight." A shadow crossed his expression, brief but real. Old habits of fear dying slow. Mae noticed, but she didn't press. Some wounds didn't need names to heal. They stepped outside after breakfast. The sky had cleared, sharp and blue. The wagon sat hitched, not for running this time, for hauling firewood from the ridge. The wheels clicked as the team moved forward, not hollow, not lonely, a warm, steady cadence rolling through the crisp air. Mae glanced at Samuel walking beside her. He nodded quietly, matching her pace. For the first time in years, the sound brought peace instead of ache, a promise instead of memory. Halfway up the ridge, a gust of wind carried the faint echo of that clicking back toward the cabin, a gentle reminder of how far she'd come from the woman who rode alone. Samuel touched the brim of his hat. "Your father would have liked this place," he said. Mae felt a warmth bloom in her chest, small, bright. "He'd like that you kept your promise." Together, they led the wagon toward the tree line, 2 figures moving through a world finally wide enough for both of them. I want to hear from you in the comments below. If you enjoyed our time together, please make sure you're subscribed and ring that notification bell so you never miss a tale. Until next time, Keep your powder dry.